I watch this guy's show every day. And it's funny. He's fun. And I see why he's dominated. I'm going to say this. Craig doesn't know this yet before I bring him on. But I'll say this to you. Of all the guys, and I listened to WFAN when it turned from WNBC in 87, and they used to have soupy sales on that thing. And when I grew up in that whole area, and I'm trying to think. First, they had all these national guys on it. It blew out loud. Then they got Imus in the morning. Then they started putting some guys on. Then they had Mike Francesa on. Then they got the Mad. And he's right. Mad Dog and Francesa could never do a show today because that stuff, people want to be entertained. They don't want truth. They don't give a shit about the truth. They care about being entertained. Let's bring Craig Carton in. Brand new show. Carton show on FS1. Very few of these shows are out there. Craig, that had to be one of the most difficult decisions for you to leave home.
Yeah.
Your second home, WFAN.
Can you hear me good?
Crystal clear.
Nice. That's Syracuse education right there. Can you hear me good? Yeah, it was a tough decision because, you know, everything I've really gotten in life professionally, although I had obviously other stops in radio and was fortunate enough to be successful, stems from success in New York City. You know, New York City is the greatest media market in the world, and WFAN, the station, as you just said, that started it all, is the greatest platform. I don't take that lightly. I think a lot of times broadcasters take for granted the platform that made them stars or celebrities or successful, and they very quickly want to divorce themselves from the platform, and they find out very quickly that the majority of them are nothing without the platform that created them. So it was not an easy decision. It took the better part of 10 months for me to come to it. And, you know, WFAN and Fox were both very patient in allowing me to figure out emotionally and with family, you know, what was best ultimately for me from a selfish standpoint. And I came to the decision that, you know, working from 2 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. was not in my best interest. And, you know, I'm blessed where, you know, my radio career, I think, and this is going to sound somewhat egotistical, speaks for itself. You know, I've been number one in every market I've ever worked in. I've had great success in New York City. And the challenge of trying to replicate that success on a national TV show is an interesting challenge for me, one that obviously I want to take, I am taking. And what you just said a few minutes ago also resonates. You know, there are sports talk radio stations in every market in America. There's only 2 networks that for real do this type of TV. So I've been given the keys to a real exclusive car club. And I don't take that for granted, that I'm really interested and excited about making that successful.
What's the difference between Eagle fans or Philly fans?
And by the way, if I can interrupt you for a sec, you noticed every other time I've been on your show, I've been outside a bowling alley. I've been in my car. I've been in the woods. Look how professional I am. I got headphones on.
Dude, you got headphones on. I mean, you're in the house. I mean,
inside.
This is crazy great. This is like crazy great here, man. What's the difference between Philly sports fans and New York sports fans?
Almost nothing. The biggest difference between Philly and New York is the fact that New York has choices. So if you're a Philly guy, and obviously I was on WIP from 93 to 97, everybody's an Eagles fan. Everybody's a Sixers fan. Everybody's a Phillies fan, a Flyers fan. In New York, the town is split. So in Philly, if I'm talking Eagles football, I win. In New York, if I'm talking Giants football, all right, my wife's flashing me right now. If I talk Giants football, well, Jet fans don't want to hear it, and vice versa. So, you know, we make fun of each other. New York hates Philly, Philly hates New York. When you get down, if you cut us all open, New Yorkers, Philadelphians, and I include Boston in this too.
Yep.
We're all the same. Passionate people. Sports means something to us. It's legitimately a public trust. I think Chicago's probably the same in that regard, and very few other cities. I'm sure, you know, in Dallas, the Cowboys are like that for sure. But, you know, New York is just, everything's a little bit bigger, a little bit more attention, and there's choices, and that makes it difficult sometimes, which is why, like, you see a lot of, the radio stations in Boston and Philly who put up these crazy shares and are really successful. They're talking about the one team that everybody likes. You know, New York is different than that. Whereas, like I said, if I'm doing Jets, Giant fans turn it off. If I'm doing Yankees, Met fans don't want to hear it. And that's kind of the balancing act in New York, which is a lot different than Philly and Boston.
Jalen Hurts. Do you think, and I'm not going to pollute the question and I'm not going to lead it.
Yeah.
Do you think he's elite?
I think he's on his way. I can't, and I say this with all due respect, because everything I hear about the kid, and guys I'm sure like you who I know who were close with him and with the Eagles organization adore the kid. Listen, what I love about him is that everyone likes him as a person, that his work ethic, his leadership, all that. I think sometimes we get ourselves in hot water when we want to immediately put a label on a guy, good or bad, right? Where he had a great season. Let's not take that away from him. But you got to have a bunch of great seasons before you're elite. You know, the Eagles, who I think come back loaded, I think on paper, it's the Eagles and the San Francisco 49ers again. I think Dallas is going to be really good. I think the Giants are good but not great. I think the Saints probably win their division, so there's some new blood maybe in the postseason. But today on paper, to me, it's the Eagles and the 49ers. I don't think anyone else is really in their class right now. But, man, as anyone will tell you, you played the sport. It's one thing to be really good on paper. Now you're saying go back again. And they could have a great season and not go back again. So before we call him elite, why don't we see him do it for a second year in a row? Because, you know, his first year wasn't elite, right?
I would say this to you, Craig. I mean, here's been the three emotions on Jalen Hurts in his 3 years. They hated the pick in Philly when he got for the second round. The second year, you know, Howie went out, got 2-1 so that he could go into this previous April draft to potentially get a quarterback because, hey, if you want to go July 11th, 2022, they didn't know what they had. Then he has a great year. All three of those emotions played in the last 3 years. So to sit here and for me to go, well, the guy's elite. No, the guy had an elite season.
Yep.
That doesn't make you elite.
No, not by a long shot. Because what are you going to say if he has an average season? What if he has, I don't know, 28 touchdowns and 10 interceptions this year and they make the playoffs? Good year, not elite. You know, I think listen, when you talk elite, you know, you're talking about Patrick Mahomes.
Correct.
Right? Patrick Mahomes now has a body of work. He's the best quarterback in football. He is elite. Jalen is clearly on his way to having a fantastic career, maybe even a Hall of Fame career, and that's premature. I'll say this, though. For a young guy to lead a team, especially in that city, which is very tough, and did not want him to be their pick, did not want him to be their quarterback in year one, and not listen to any of the nonsense on WIP or on The Fanatic or with people in the streets, and overcome that and have the season he had, like I said, power to the kid. You know, and the beauty of sports is you can't hide. We see it. If you're really good, I look at Wembanyama in San Antonio. After one game in Vegas, he's the worst player, worst pick ever. I can't believe they wasted their pick. 3 days later, he's got 27 and 12. He's the second guy. Like we can't help ourselves because we love it.
I love it. I mean, this guy's slapping around what's her name, and he's getting 26 a night. I mean, now all of a sudden he's a superstar here, man, and everyone's crowning him. I know you love the guy. I mean, dude, just do me a favor. Have that guy in San Antonio never take his shirt off because that guy's a boneyard, man. I mean, that guy needs a couple of them steaks down in San Antonio, bro. I mean,
they got plenty of them, right? They got plenty. They got plenty of meat down there. There's no doubt about it. Yeah.
Speaking of this, and speaking of steak here, Daniel Jones, dude. So let me get this right with the Giants, Craig. So they don't pick the option up of $18 million. They turn around and they go into a deal for $46 million on a guy who had a handful of good games, and you give him a 3-year contract.
Well, it's worse than that.
$46 million.
It's worse than that. So the next 2 years are guaranteed $82 million. That's locked in no matter what he does. And this is a guy that had how many touchdown passes last year? 12, I think it was, 15, whatever it was, in a passing league. Now, to be fair, he had 7 on the ground. His legs are a strength of his game. But what I don't get is if you had said, we're not giving you $82 million, we're going to give you 70, guaranteed over 2 years. He's not taking that.
Of course
if you did that, guess what? Saquon Barkley signed right now too. And it's next Monday, so less than a week away. If they don't get Saquon done by next Monday, same with Josh Jacobs in Las Vegas, you can't sign him to a contract during the season. And then the guys have to decide to play on the franchise tag or not. To me, in New York specifically, and I'd say probably the same about Las Vegas, when you're talking about guys that represent 50% of your total offense, aren't those guys important to get signed up? So I think they're playing with fire. I think Saquon does get done before Monday, but that is not a game I would play.
Why wouldn't you do this though? Why would I pay a guy $14 million at a position that's being diminished when you got a 28-year-old guy who's only carried the ball 213 times a year in the last 6 years, has 5 of the last 6 years 1,000 yards, and you can get him for $5 million?
Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin
right?
Cook.
Yeah, I love Dalvin Cook, and I can't.
He's the same guy almost, Craig.
Yeah, I mean, and last year, like you said, he played all 17 games, 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons, wants a third of the money. What I'm really surprised is that there's not a huge market for Dalvin Cook. Because for me, all due respect to Isaiah Pacheco in Kansas City, if I'm Kansas City, I sign Dalvin Cook tomorrow. You want to play the Chiefs with Dalvin Cook? I don't.
Or the Bills.
The Bills, the Jets, the Dolphins, all these teams that are legitimate playoff teams. Now, the Jets have Breece Hall, but he's coming off a torn ACL. So I'm assuming Dalvin's got multiple offers and he's figuring out what he wants to do. But I'm with you. I would add Dalvin Cook in a minute.
Why are you so convinced that this is the year for the Jets? Do you understand now, folks? I want to tell Craig because he's a Jet and Met guy, which to me I never got. Here, let me say this to you. The last time the Jets were great, we put Neil Armstrong on the moon.
Did we?
Now, all of a sudden here, okay, we got a Super Bowl run here. Do you truly believe? I say they're in the 6 hole right now. Is that am I? I mean,
listen.
And by the way, there's the teams in the AFC are great, and we don't know what the war of attrition is going to look like, right? War of attrition, guy get banged up, that could move him up, that could move him down, but the depth on the O-line and Aaron Rodgers. Look, I think he's going to have a bounce back season too. Why are you so convinced this is going to be a huge year for the Jets?
I mean, I have to be, right? They're bringing in a guy that we've never had. All due respect to Joe Namath, the first snap that Aaron Rodgers takes, he's the best quarterback we've ever had play since the franchise existed. Certainly in my lifetime, which is damn near since the franchise existed. But the AFC East is not the deepest division. The Patriots are not all that great. I'm not sold on Mac Jones. I like him, but I'm not sold on him. I'm not a big Tua guy, with all due respect. And the Buffalo Bills clearly are a soap opera right now. And their window is still open for sure, but closing fast. And if Allen and Diggs aren't getting along, that's a real problem. So I think when you consider how good the Jets defense was, and that's without a lot of takeaways, right? They're a top 10 defense, but they came in 29th in takeaways. You get an extra 5 takeaways, you might be the best defense in football. You've got the young studding Garrett Wilson. I'm with you on the offensive line. And that's my biggest concern. If Mekhi Becton does not play left tackle for the New York Jets, Aaron Rodgers is going to get hurt. There is no doubt about it. But as a long-suffering Jet fan who now has the unfortunate status of rooting for a team that has gone longer than any other team in North American sports without a postseason berth, I have to believe that Aaron Rodgers is the difference. Now, I'm not telling you they're going to win the Super Bowl, but they've got to be in the conversation. I think Kansas City, Cincinnati, I think everybody's sleeping on Baltimore, which is a real stupid thing to do because they might be the ultimate best team in the AFC with all their depth and Todd Monken going in and around the offense. But the Jets have to be in the conversation.
I got one more question for you, though, but I found out now the Jets have 3 of the biggest fans: Aaron Rodgers, Craig Carton, and Fireman Ed. Those are the 3 most famous Jets right now.
I once had Fireman Ed on my shoulders, and my left shoulder hasn't been right since 9 years ago. He's that load, that dude. It'd be like carrying you.
We had Bobby V on yesterday, and we were talking about the Mets, and he said this: name me, how many guys do you think on that Mets team could actually start on the Braves right now? And I went like this, maybe the catcher. He goes, there's not a lot of guys from that Mets team. And he thinks they're not built, Craig, for being a consistent winner. He thinks that team is not built for being all the money that they spend. Is he right or wrong?
He's 100% right. I mean, they were built to try to win today. They went out and got 2 40-year-old pitchers on short-term deals, right?
Yeah.
They're not built to win over a 6-7 year stretch. And they proved an adage that a lot of fans get upset about nationwide when they accuse the Yankees of, quote unquote, trying to buy championships. First off, The Yankees have spent, what, $3 billion since their last World Series appearance. The New York Mets have a payroll higher than any payroll in the history of the sport. They're 18 games out of first place. So I agree with Bobby, who I also love like you do. And I think they have a couple guys who are really good. I'm a huge Pete Alonso guy. His batting average stinks, but he's a 40 home run dude, no doubt about it, every single year. Lindor puts up better numbers than people think because he's not performing the way we thought he would, batting average wise. But go look at Lindor's numbers. They're really, really good. And Nimmo's really good consistently every day. Outside of that,
they're playing a little better too, Craig. They're playing a little better.
They won 6 in a row, then they lost the last 2 before the break, but they've got a pitching problem. You got a pitching problem. They're not a great defensive team. And if you're relying on 2 40-year-old guys to find the fountain of youth, let me know when Max Scherzer gets a glass because he's not pitched well, right?
Fine. Hey, I'm gonna let you go here with this, but somebody just brought up the fact, and it's being debated. I don't know why. I guess we're getting closer. We're 16 days from camp, and they're starting to talk about Jalen Hurts in the conversation of being one of the better quarterbacks in the history of the franchise. If you had to pick Randall Cunningham, Donovan McNabb, in Eagle history, who is the quarterback you're taking to win a 60-minute football game? Randall Cunningham?
Do I get to pick the coach with him or no?
Yeah, pick it. Yeah.
I think if Randall Cunningham played with Andy Reid, he's got multiple Super Bowls.
I think if he plays today, he's Patrick Mahomes.
There's no doubt. Randall Cunningham is arguably I hate saying this because it's disrespectful, but Randall Cunningham is the most athletic quarterback I've ever seen, and that includes all the studs today, the Justin Fields, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes. I was blessed to see Randall Cunningham play towards the end of his Philadelphia career. And, I remember the SI cover, Ultimate Weapon. Randall Cunningham's the guy. I know Fran Tarkenton way back in the 70s played a similar style of football, but Randall Cunningham, I remember when I got to Philly in 93, I got there a year after Buddy Ryan left to go out to Arizona.
So you're there with the Kotite years?
I was there for Kotite, yeah. I played golf with Rich Kotite. We played 18 holes in an hour and 22 minutes. He claimed he never lost the ball, but he never had any balls left in the cart when we got back. And he always brought a case of them. I can tell you stories all day about Richie, but the thing I'm saying, the plan when Rich Kotite was the head coach when Buddy Ryan was the head coach was first down, do whatever. Second down, do whatever. Third and long, just give the ball to Randall, hope he makes a play. And that was their offense. He didn't care about offense. He was a defensive coach. And I saw Randall Cunningham do things that I've never seen a quarterback do, way ahead of his time. And I know McNabb went to a Super Bowl, so I get that, right? And he is one of the great quarterbacks. Jaworski went to a Super Bowl. I get that. But I think you could make an argument, it's a hill you could die on, that Randall Cunningham, all due respect to Jalen Hurts, is the best quarterback the Eagles have ever had.
Absolutely. Hey, the next time you are on WFAN and you bring Sid Rosenberg on, do me a favor. always be prepared to hear this. Francesca was going to bring me back. I'll tell
you a true story. You want to hear a story? So I go to WFAN in 2007. All right. Our show's just becoming successful.
You took over for what's his name? Kaplan.
Imus.
Oh,
no, that was WNEW. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where Sid and I worked together. Yeah. So I get to WFAN, it's Boomer and Carton, where show's just becoming successful, 2008. All right. The bosses come to me and they say, listen, Russo just left. We're considering Sid to replace Francesca. This is a true story. Sid's not lying about this. All right. So they come to me and Boomer, because now we're kind of becoming successful. So we have a voice in all these things, I guess. And they're like, are you cool tonight? Because Sid and I had an issue back in the day. We're good friends now. Back in the day, we didn't get along. And I'm like, yeah, we just worry about morning drive. You do what you want to do. The job was his. They made him an offer. What happened was, at the last minute, they went to Mike. And they said, Mike, it's you and Sid. We're good. One condition. If Sid messes up, if he goes down a bad road at that part of Sid's life, there was still a question of Mark how he was living his life. I took over for
him in Miami because of the whole thing.
He's doing, and by the way, he's doing great now. Very successful.
He's killing it on ABC.
WABC, and God bless him and his family, right?
Yep.
And I'm proud of him. He's overcome his addictions.
Danielle and everybody are doing great. They're happy
great.
for that.
We had dinner with them a couple weeks ago. They're great. And I'm proud of him for that. So they go to Mike. If Sid goes down a bad road, it's on you. So as long as you're willing to put your career on the fact that he's not going to do the wrong thing, we're good, we're done. And Mike said no.
I wouldn't do it either. Don't put that on me, man. I
Yep.
mean,
Because
you're
that's who
accountable.
Mike
You're a
wanted.
man. You're accountable for your own actions. I'm not accountable for you, right?
Yep. So
I mean,
when Sid says he
dude,
was
you're the
offered
greatest
job, he
example
was.
of that.
Yeah. So it's a truth. He's not lying when he tells you he was offered afternoons at the Fan. He was.
That's crazy. Great to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. Hey, Craig, you are killing it. That show is fun. I love how it's funny how it's so different because it's not white noise. And what I mean by that is, you know how you turn stations on, Craig, and everything sounds the same. It's completely different.
Yeah,
and I
it's
think
different.
that's your objective
Yep.
is to be fun, entertain. I think entertainment is, it's funny, Craig, you and I believe in this. We believe in entertaining. Hey, truth, great. You want to be around the truth, but I want to be more entertaining and around the truth.
I know what I don't want to do also. Like I'm not having a two-man debate show yelling and screaming at each other. It's just not fun. And I think what we do is really different than anything else that's on TV right now on a network or FS1, ESPN, whatever. And sports is entertaining. It's fun. And there's legitimate laughs to be had. And I think ultimately long-term, what'll set us apart is when people recognize, boy, that show's just fun to be a part of. Like, we're always having a good time. We talk sports. We talk all the major issues. We don't miss anything, but we're having fun talking about it. And I'm blessed to be given that opportunity because sports should be fun. People take it seriously, as they should. But, man, if I'm sitting there yelling at you for 3 hours, I am not going to be a happy dude.
I'm really proud.
And I don't want to be yelled at either, by the way. Like,
I
get that.
I'm really proud of. I've been married 33 years, and being married to a radio and a broadcast person is as difficult as it possibly can. And I know you got a warrior wife, and you guys are working there. And my wife said the same thing. I go, I'm getting Carton, and she goes, "Wow, his wife must have the cross to bear like I do." And I go, "Oh no, I'm sure of it." And I go, "But you know what's crazy, Craig? We're together. She's my best friend, and we've been together 33 years. So I mean." She's the only person.
Now you guys are you're empty nesters now, or no?
Yeah, because my daughter now goes and she's now a rugby player. But hey, Craig, I've never been told more by two people to go F myself in my life than my wife and my kid. It's the most.
I've been told to shut up the whole time I'm talking to you.
Hey, Craig, thank you so much. I appreciate it. God bless you, dude.
And by the way, I'm proud of you too. You're doing a great success with JAKIB's Media. They picked the right guy. They picked the winner. And, I followed your career as well. And I know this football season is going to be big for you guys. And I'm happy to be a part of it and join you whenever you want. And happy to consider you a friend too.
Dude, absolutely. You're one of my best. Hey, tell your kid when he goes down to Miami, both your kids.
Yeah.
If you need anything down there, let me know. Okay.
Yeah, but I'll tell you a quick story. So Dan set me up with my son's going to be a senior there. So we went to see practice, right? Football practice one day last year when we took him down for his junior year. And the coach comes up to him after his introduction. He knew that you had set it up. And I'll tell you about this guy. He gives my son his cell phone number. Now, he had never met my son's name.
Coach Cristobal.
Yeah, Cristobal, yeah. Cristobal gives Sonny his personal cell phone number. And he has some law enforcement people in his family. I think his brother was a cop down in Florida.
Yep.
And he says, listen, Miami can be a tough place. If you ever get jammed up, you call me. Never met the kid before.
He did that.
Yep. He said, if you ever get jammed up, you ever need anything, you call me. Here's my personal cell phone number. He goes, I got you.
Wow. Because let me tell you, Ed Hudak is the sheriff in Coral Gables, and he's one of my personal friends too. And I talk to Mario probably, I would say 3 times a week. We talk about the program, where it's going. And Ed Hudak is the sheriff down there. So yeah, let me know, man. I'll tell you what, if you need places to go down there too, we can hook him up.
I think he's good on places.
What's that?
I think he's good on places to go, but Mario needs a stadium on campus.
Yes.
The kids cannot go to games because it's too far away. They got to get a stadium.
I hate the Hard Rock, man. I mean, I just hate the Hard Rock. Craig, thank you, brother.
Be good.
You got it. The great Craig Carton. Don't forget to catch a show out on FS1, the Carton Show, and we have a really good time, me and him, man. I tell you what, we butted heads when we first. Hey, Tone, you're not going to believe this. He and I couldn't stand one another. This is about 20 years ago. And we couldn't stand one another, man. I'm talking shit on him. He's talking shit on me. And oh my God, man. And by the way, I really do agree with him what he said about Philadelphia, New York, and Boston. Do you understand? Those are three separate sandboxes, right? Those are three separate sandboxes. This is my sandbox here in Philly. This is my sandbox in New York. And this is my sandbox in Boston. And see, Boston and Philly, they team up on New York because you know why? They got two teams of each. Shit, they got three hockey teams, right? Kind of. Everything's in New Jersey. Three separate sandboxes with sand that come from the same beach. Tone, that's a great one. Dude, that is so true, man. Hey, and no one, what you talking about? Hey, before I got him on, Tone, I go like this, and Carton goes like this to me. He goes, hey, how are they treating you in Philly? I go, how do you think they're treating me? He goes, like you're home. I go, right. I got guys like Quan and the rest of these guys, and you know what they're saying? They're going like, hey, you're an asshole, but they're here every day. He goes, that's the key to the whole thing. That's the key to it, right? Craig was kind of mean when he was younger. Hey, Barb, we're all a little mean when we're younger. I'm a little nicer now myself. He spent time in the slammer. Hey, that will make you a little nicer too, right, Yale? What up, maniac? I have to catch yesterday's replay of Bobby V. Love Bobby. Hey, Bobby V, he confirmed it for me. Bobby V came and pitched BP to me, brought me in to meet Davey Johnson, and it was on the show yesterday. I was going to be a New York Met. I went to the Cape Cod League. The Mets. What was his name? Hey, Yale. What was the general manager's name of the Mets in 1980? Was it Frank Cashin? Does that sound right? Frank Cashin? The GM of the Mets? It was a Tone. So I go into Queens. I must have been 17 years old, 18 years old. Hey, get this. I go into Queens. Bobby V's with me. My friend Jim, I don't know. My friend Jim, I was 17 years old. He had pitched batting practice. Me and this other guy, Roger Haggerty. We went in, drafted Darryl Strawberry and Gooden. So get this. They go, hey, we hear that you're looking at a scholarship to play football. And I go, I am. Who are you being recruited by? Well, I said, well, Maryland, Miami, Ohio State, SMU. I went down the list. BC, Pittsburgh, Penn State, all these places, Notre Dame, they're all recruiting me. And he goes like this, what are you going to do? I go, I don't know yet. I had no idea. He goes, well, what if we gave you $196,000 to sign and go to minor league baseball? And we're talking about looking at you in the third round. I was like, my grandfather wanted me to go to college. And I went like this. Now, remember, in 1987, I signed for $650,000 with the Buccaneers. So it wasn't quite a loss. It was money that I would end up getting anyway. Yale goes, where do I sign? It was he said that if we draft you in the third, it would probably be around something like $180,000 to $190,000, $96,000, somewhere in there. You could even go in the second round because the Pirates were interested in me. I think the Pirates, the Mets, and the Braves had an interest in me. I think the Reds maybe too. Not really strong though, but the Reds did because I went to their baseball camp. And Bobby threw batting practice to me and goes, this guy hits 450-foot home runs and he's 17 years old. And I was hitting him. I was hitting him out of this park called Cubetta in Stanford and over the right tech. And I was crazy great in baseball. And I was like, nah, man, and I didn't really like football that much. Oh, I liked it. I loved it, actually, but I didn't like it as much as baseball. I was a catcher. Yeah, I was behind the dish. Oh, the Expos. That's what it was. It was Pirates, Expos, and Mets that had the big interest in me. Those were the teams. Montreal Expos were very interested. And I'm like, Montreal, Canada? I'm not going to Canada. Hour number 3. Hit the like button. Keep it